Welcome to O-Talkin' with Dave. Here's Dave.
Hey, how we doing out there? I hope you're doing well. I don't know what day it is for you, but today is Friday for me, which is good news. Friday's always good news, you know? Even if you got a crazy weekend plan, nothing planned, whatever. TGIF. Well, I'm talking about other good news today. It's about time. Good news is pretty hard to find if you're depending on it to be delivered. You know, if you're waiting on good news like you would wait on breakfast in bed or something like that, well, good luck with that. I'm the first one up in this house. Breakfast in bed to me would be something the dog drug in the middle of the night. That is not something I'm waiting on. For sure. And it's definitely not good news. But the reason I want to talk about it today is it is so hard to find. You know, why is bad news everywhere and good news you have to dig for? Now, I like to think that I'm a glass half full kind of guy and I can find a silver lining in any cloud. I believe that. Some people say I'm not realistic, and we'll get to that as well. However, I wonder, are there that many negative people out there? You know, why is bad news everywhere and good news is hard to find? I think it's a legitimate question. And so let's talk about the bad news. Let's go that way just a second before I bombard you with good news. First of all, bad news gets more clicks. We're in a click world, you know? If something instills fear or outrage or drama, give me some drama. That's great. News outlets love this. I hesitate to call them news outlets. They're outlets. They're propaganda machines. I don't care what side you're on. They're pumping up their side. So there's very little news, but it's horrible. And it's so... It's nationwide. I'm not going to talk about worldwide, but nationwide. I'll go stay with my dad in Alabama, and it's just one thing after another. The local news. Oh, you got a death. You got a fire. You got flooding. Oh, here comes the weather. Oh, nope. Tornadoes, hurricanes, plagues, pestilence, locusts in the floorboard. You got everything. So it's not just a national thing. It's a local thing. It dominates the headlines. It's not journalism. It's marketing because people will tune in. A lot of it is around that fear. My grandfather was, at a farm. After a while, he didn't farm for a living, but out of, I'm not going to say habit, but out of routine, you check the weather. Farming, weather's important. You're going on vacation. You check the weather. You're going to travel. You check the weather. Why? It's not because I want to see how sunny it's going to be. No, it's, what if it rains? You check that. You check it out of fear a lot of times. Why do you go to a car race? For the wrecks, please. It sounds bad, but it is. Some of the funniest videos are when people fall. Or something, bad news. We've learned to be desensitized to that. I still remember a time when my grandmother walked in. It was Thanksgiving, and we were watching like a Western or something on TV. Well, they don't watch TV much, and she didn't watch TV for very long. She would watch the weather, the weather or the news. You get a lot of bad news. But anyway, I remember it was just a calm scene in a Western and some guy shot somebody as she was walking through. You see this 1,000 times in Westerns. But oh goodness, he shot him. She wasn't desensitized yet. That was still bad for her. I think to the point to where bad news, it gets more clicks and also we become desensitized or what it takes to shock us. That's part of it. And another thing, it's the threats. The human brain, it's evolved to the point to where, spotting danger is wired in more than looking for good stuff or what danger over delight. We'll say it that way. We can scan for what might go wrong. We don't really scan for what's going right. That's just the way we're wired. And studies have shown this over time. When you want to do something, what do you scan through to find? A lot of times in journalism, if it's written, the third paragraph is the gotcha. They give you the headline, which sometimes has nothing to do with it, but the third paragraph is where, okay, so you scan through the first two, no big, they get to the third one. They know that because psychological tests have thought, okay, you need to warm up and then give me that and then the rest. And then right at the end, they'll put a little nice bow on it. Nice being a theoretical term. But the brain is wired for that, to look for threats. I don't know. I guess you can go back to cavemen or wherever. They're wired to look for threats, to be on guard, to notice things. Even when they're hunting, that's a threat. They have the threat of being injured or something. Even in the animal world, they look for threats when they're looking. If there's something available for them to kill and eat, they'll still assess it based on, okay, what is the danger part of this to me? Because if I get hurt, I'll die because I'll have to go days or weeks without being able to hunt. So it's wired that way. I'm not giving you excuses. I'm not giving anybody excuses for being negative or enjoying bad news. But some of it is the way we're wired. I think part of it too is good news has become to feel ordinary. When's the last time you heard headlines about a plane landing safely? Millions probably a day. It's constant. I can drive to the airport, just be driving around in Vegas because the visibility is always great out here. There will be 10 planes in the air at the same time, either taking off or landing. I never hear about them, a successful takeoff, a successful landing. But if there's a close call, headlines. If one crashes, boom, everything stops. Positive outcomes are expected now, so they rarely get reported. Man holds door for woman. That would probably get some headlines because they want to bash the man. Manners aren't good news. Another thing is crisis creates conversation. It creates it. People bond over a shared concern. What is gossip? Ooh, a scandal. I may tell a total stranger the latest gossip. Good. Oh, you haven't heard that yet? Oh, let me be the one to tell you. In the news, it's always it's the way it is. I know it's the way it is. However, first to report, being the first to say something. I want to be the first to tell you. There's some sort of notoriety there, but that crisis, socially, it's great. But, you're not really celebrating what's working. Who gives good gossip? Oh, did you hear about Joe and Mary? They've got the best marriage. Yeah, right. Now, give me some bad news. Give me some meat. And then I think part of that is because with bad news, negativity has that sense of urgency around it. Bad news feels like, we got to react to this. I got to get your reaction to this. Did you see the ball game last night? Yeah, we got killed. Yeah, what do you think about that? Is all lost? What are we going to do? Should we fire the coach? Instead of, man, we killed him last night. Yeah. Well, we should have won by more. If we hadn't missed those 2 field goals, we would. Guilty, I do that. But positivity in that regard, it doesn't command as much attention. And also, we have an internal algorithm. Everybody knows what algorithms are. I wonder how many people can spell them without spell checking. I would struggle, but I'd get it. Third try. Algorithms amplify it. They crave it, but they want to amplify it. Social media is the world's worst at this. Yeah, because you want to engage in it. You want to do this. When I talk about bad news gets more clicks, well, if you're going to click on something negative, boom, the algorithm will kick in and pull you more. And if your brain has that algorithm of wanting that, which we've talked about it a little bit, that's what you're going to want more. The more you click on bad news, the more you're going to get bad news. And the more you're going to click on it. And the more you're going to get it. Turns into a shampoo commercial. Yeah. So I talked about the local news, how it's really bad. But a lot of times that local news, the big headlines focus on global stuff. But that local news, it deals on negative stuff around you. But what is shared is around, maybe a local team winning something. Even more, a local kid or athlete doing something. Somebody maybe a small human interest story. Yeah, you'll get more of those in local news, but it's still lost in there. So you'll get more good news locally, but it's still overwhelmed with bad news. And I don't know how we got here, but cynicism, you sound smarter. Oh, you're pushing back? You're just not doing the bobblehead? Yeah, that sounds great. Somebody with a critical view, they're thoughtful. They've thought through this. I absolutely lose my patience with people in business or in meetings or conferences where they're going to disagree with something to get on the record and come across as, I'm smarter. I'm the voice of reason. Yeah, give me a break. Yeah, give me a break. But sometimes that's why they do it. They're more intellectual. Even if, pessimism creates that air of critical thinker. Whatever. I think the bottom line is drama is easy to sell. Bad news is drama. That's easy to sell. You give me one piece of bad news, I can shake up a room. Good news is like, okay, all right, next. So I think drama and bad news go hand in hand. Exactly. And people, because of this, all these things, a lot of times, and this bothers me because I think I do this, I seek the light. I seek the silver lining. Most people, I think they wait for good news to appear. Almost like I started the podcast. They wait for it. Fewer people go out and look for it and dig in. They like it delivered. In this world of 24-hour news cycle and social media and smartphones and everything, deliver it. I DoorDash some good news. Well, you've got to ask for it. And I think that's one of the biggest things. We wait for the good news. We don't seek it. So, we need to seek it more. Why don't we? I mean, there's proof. Undisputed proof that there's positive people. They're happier. They're healthier. Let's talk to that. I mean, there's a lot of studies, and I don't like to talk about some of these institutions of study because I bash them so much. But I'll tell you this. You look at institutions of higher learning that are doing these studies and these scientists, when they show studies about how being positive benefits you, well, that almost contradicts some of the other stuff because they're the ones giving you a ton of bad news. But there's tons of studies. One in 2007 found that optimistic people have significantly lower rates of heart disease. Even when other risk factors are present, optimistic or happier people lower heart disease and 50% lower risk of death from normal causes, natural causes, rather than against people that would consider themselves pessimistic. And what they did is they studied them and put them in these classes. They did a test to determine, are you an optimist or a pessimist? And then studied over time. Yeah, it's a long, long study, and they had a ton of people. 50%. 50%. It's a big number. Then positivity is linked to a longer life. A pessimist would say, oh, well, who wants to live longer? This is a recent study, though, 2019, that most optimistic people lived 11 to 15% longer than people that would consider themselves on the fence or negative. And, and that average age, 85 plus now. And I know some people, I don't want to live that long. Have you seen what that looks like? My dad's 86. Come on. So it's not just about feeling good. It's about aging better. And these people are still optimistic. Yeah. But positive people that are looking for that good news and are seeing it, they've got better mental health. I've got all the studies here. However, they have increased resilience, better problem-solving skills, and life satisfaction. They're positive. They find a way. They bounce back faster from stress, trauma, job loss, all of those things. They bounce back faster. It's because they're not doom and gloom. Bad news, bad news, bad news. Let me find some good news here. So positivity, it builds mental muscles that help, that negative stuff tears down. No, I can get through this. I'll find a way. Positive people sleep better. How about that? 2016 study that people with higher levels of optimism sleep longer and better than those with a negative outlook. Sleep deprivation, sleep problems causes a lot of problems. People who sleep better worry less. That's a whole nother podcast there. And then optimistic people have stronger relationships. I talk about home, work, or play. Boom, you got relationships in all of those. But positive people are seen as more approachable, likable, and trustworthy. I mean, think about it. If you're a negative person, you're probably not going to hang around with positive people as much because they'll get on your nerves. You're looking for bad news. Remember Bad Luck, Schleprock, or Eeyore? All these people, that's the negatives, boom, boom. But they don't want to be around positive people. So positive people hang around together. They perpetuate stronger relationships. And then the bottom line is being positive isn't about ignoring your problems. Oh, that gets on my nerves. Well, you're just not realistic, Dave. Well, come on, follow me around for a couple of days. This is real. It's not about ignoring your problems. It's about responding with some hope and energy and belief that all is not lost. We have some power here. We have some control to do something about it. There's some good news out there. I'm going to go look for it. I'm not going to sit here in bed and wait for my breakfast and then complain when it gets here. No, we got choices. Let's get out there and live it. But physically and emotionally, it's been proven. Positive people and those purveyors of good news, there's a lot of positive results. It's not just attitude. So, okay, how can we break that bad news loop? Because there's good news, tons of good news. One thing is, don't just consume it. Don't just consume your news. I'll talk to people and I'll say, well, where are you getting your news? I don't like talking about it with people because usually they have a slant, and a slant is slanted for a reason, and they slant every comment or whatever based on that. However, what are you consuming? Where are you getting that? If it's social media, oh, that's not news. Please. If it's news on TV, well, that's probably not news either. I don't want to get into that, but don't just be a scroller. Search for things. It still searches. Much like phones, you can actually dial a number and talk to somebody. It's not just scrolling or texting. These supercomputers we have, you can be specific with what you're looking for. Follow in social media. Follow uplifting things. Subscribe to uplifting things. Share uplifting things. Once you find something, send it to somebody. Share it. Share it. Post it. Good news can be, I don't know, it's almost like my son's significant other. She's wonderful. But she's like, she works at a museum, and they're constantly curating things for the museum or to help with a children's program. But they're always looking for that. And museums they're stockpiling things. My son and I just went to a World War II museum, I believe it was, or a veterans museum, and they had all this stuff they've collected from years. Some people donated, others it's just incredible. And I've never been a big history buff, but it's like, wow, this took a lot of effort. Be that curator for good news. I'm going to find it. Hey, instead of just like, oh, that's cool, share it. Give it to somebody else. If you only eat what you're served, don't complain about the taste. Go find something else on the menu. Come on. So don't just consume good news. Share it. Collect it. Then another thing is, I talk about gratitude all the time. You should be grateful I talk about gratitude so much. But the thing is, it's become almost a skill. I've worked with people who struggle with being more grateful, and I get that because they're beaten down with all the bad news. But start your day with gratitude. I just thought, as I'm saying this, I haven't done a gratitude post in a bit. I usually, I'll hop on and here's 3 things I'm grateful for, blah, blah, blah. I haven't done that. But gratitude, it rewires your brain to look for good. If you have to, in the mornings, I'm going to write down 3 things I'm grateful for, or I'm just going to think of 3 things. You look for it. It might be your health. It might be that cough is gone, or I don't have a headache, or it might be, man, that's a really good cup of coffee today, or I like this mug. This mug came from Captain Keno's. I may or may not have paid full price for it, but I love this mug. It may be that simple. It causes you to look for it. It's good news you write to yourself. That's what gratitude is. So practice that. That helps. All right? We're on a roll. Also, think about some of the questions you ask. Instead of, just the world wants to know what's wrong, what's going on. How about, what's better? What's better than it was? Who did something for me yesterday? Who can I do something for today? Or it's as you go. It's something that's simple. I'm at the grocery store, and I know this particular place has, I think, 80% of their carts have square wheels. What is it? I always get those cart with square wheels. Anyway, this lady was coming in, and I was getting a cart, and I found one with round wheels. It's like, oh, fantastic! And I turned around, and there's this older lady there, of course, with her purse and her list. And I'm thinking, okay, so I let her have the cart. And she, oh, thank you, young man, and she goes on her way. The next 4 had square wheels. It took me longer to do that. However, that's something kind. It was good for her. I don't think she realized what a sacrifice that was for me. However, I was good news. And so part of that is, don't wait for someone to do something. Now, you do it. It can be something that small. That woman does not remember me, and it's no big deal. It saved her 2 steps and some square wheels. However, be the good news. And then I think the biggest challenge, but also the biggest improvement opportunity would be just reduce the noise. Take breaks from the drama-heavy media, however you're consuming it. You can set time limits. You can do whatever you need to be balanced. One thing that we do from time to time, we just turn the sound down, because you get bad news at a sports event. You can be watching a ball game and the commentators, they just drive you crazy. It's bad news. Hey, hit that mute button. We can still see the game. My wife right now is taking a break from social media. Yeah, and she gets back on there and people are freaking out. I did this. I messaged you or what? You didn't respond immediately. They're freaking out. Oh, she's living the life because she's limiting the noise. When I'm at my best, I'll be on a little bit in the morning and then maybe get on at night. I'll check emails for the block system before the first, in between the first and second, between the second and third. Don't check before you go to bed because you don't know what's going to happen there. So limit that noise, though. You can do it. You can do it. And here's the thing. You'll be amazed at the difference. The world will still rotate on its axis if you're not on social media trying to help it rotate. You're going to be amazed at how much good news is out there as well because you're going to be open to it and you're not bombarded with the bad news. I know so many people, when they've quit a toxic job, they didn't realize how bad it was until they weren't consuming it all day and every day. So there you go. Let me hit those again. Be a curator of good news, not just a consumer of all news. And when it comes to you, practice gratitude. It makes you look for good things. It's good news. It's good news you write for yourself. Ask better questions. What's out there? What can I, what's going to go right? What went right? Who was kind to me? Who can I be kind to? Be that good news. Do something. And remember you did it. And that makes you want to do it again. And then maybe most importantly, limit the noise. Limit the noise. And I got some examples. You probably haven't heard these things. You definitely haven't heard it in the media. But just world events. Did you know, and I'm not politically either side on my comments here, poverty has fallen 36% since 1990. I'm sorry, I misread my quote. Poverty has fallen from 36% in 1990 to 9% today. Extreme poverty. Now you have to look at their definition. Poverty in America, they still have cell phones. Poverty in America, that doesn't mean they're not eating, but that has fallen from 36 to 9%. Child mortality has dropped more than 50% in the last 30 years. You hearing that? Child mortality? Did you know there was a stat around child mortality? Do you know we had a problem with child mortality? If it had risen 50%, you think you would have heard that? Yeah. But it's fallen 50% in the last 30 years. Global literacy. Over 86% of the world can read or write a language. They can communicate. They can read or write. That seems high to me. Well, that's fantastic. They wouldn't, and this, I've got footnotes here. Diseases like polio are on the brink of eradication. Now, I laugh because I've never seen anybody with polio in person, and we have vaccines and all these things, but gone due to whatever. You don't hear about that. One case of polio comes along, boom, headlines. And then every day, over 300,000 people around the world gain access to electricity for the first time. Every day, over 300,000 people around the world gain access to electricity for the first time. Wow. Hello. You can believe these or not. I believe them. I've got the footnotes, just like the studies. You know what? Because I choose to believe them, and it's good news. Does it change my life? No. But that slow, steady drip of good news is much better than if I turn those stats around. I would be more alarmed. I would. The analogy is good news is like oxygen. You don't notice it until it's gone. And then you fill that with the bad news. And you're thinking, it's a crisis. It's a crisis. I'm out of air. I can't breathe. When you got it, it's not like, oh boy, I can breathe. No, it's got to be a crisis. So also, you got individual people doing things. The accomplishments of, I heard where a retired teacher in India, she retired, all right, planted a tree a day for 40 years. Now there's a forest, which where used to be nothing. High school janitor in North Carolina saved for 20 years and donated over $100,000 in scholarships. He was a janitor. Doctors, countless volunteers risk their lives to deliver care in the most dangerous corners of the world every day. It's a thing called Doctors Without Borders. They go donate their time. And they're going into these areas where they don't have any medicine, any antibiotics, and they're saving lives, which helps with the mortality rate. And then, small businesses. This is not just about desolate areas. Small businesses, they're coming back. They're coming back. Even after COVID, communities are rebuilding. There's so much good news out there. A lot of the areas that are riddled with crime, the community has stood up, and it's not that way anymore. It's not desperate. These people used to be victims or even perpetrators of crime. Now they're small business owners, and they're doing well. You're not hearing that. Renewable energy, it's exploding. I saw a chart the other day where they showed with reforestation, not deforestation. That gets the headlines, but reforestation, 20%. There is 20% more forestation in areas where it did not exist before over the last 25 years. 20%. That's a ton. That's a ton. The ozone layer, just so you know, it's expected to be fully recovered by 2040. Have you heard that? I remember they took away my mama's Aquanet because it was destroying the ozone layer. You haven't heard about that. It's getting better. Nope, you haven't. Endangered species. I remember a stat from a long time ago. It said, endangered species, we lose over 2,000 species a year to extinction that haven't even been discovered yet. We don't know what they are, but we know they're dying. Please. Well, endangered species, let's see this. Like the giant panda, the humpback whale, and the green sea turtle. They're back, baby. They're back. They're either not on the endangered species list anymore, or they're close to totally recovering. And don't get me started on glaciers. There's just as many glaciers as there were. They're showing recovery. Parts of New Zealand, they've seen short-term advances in the sizes of their glacier. There's soot that accelerates glacier melt. There's less soot now. You think I made that up? No. Glaciers are growing. They're not going away. And here's the thing. I don't care, liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, libertarian. I don't care. This is good news, especially if you don't care who gets the credit. It should be good news. And if you don't think it's good news, you need to question yourself. 94% of the headlines on major news outlets are negative. 94%. And I wonder what those other 6% are. People are more likely to share bad news than good because the reasons we said. They've got the scoop. It's more urgent. It's critical. And programming gets this. AI gets this. That's why this wonderful good news podcast is probably not going to appear in a lot of algorithms. So it's out there. Look for it. Don't just wait for it to be served. So, looking at good news, why? Why look for it? Other than it's going to make you live long, sleep better, all those things I just said. It builds hope. It builds hope. Good news reminds you that progress is possible. Everything's not doom and gloom, even if it's slow. One day can be better than the next. You know, it's like a seed of optimism. You got to water it too, but it's a seed of optimism. If something good can happen here, maybe something good can happen somewhere else too. And it makes you look for it. It's the whole gratitude thought. Also, it balances your perspective. If you're bombarded with negativity all the time, you can't help but be a little bit negative. So one piece of good news okay, I got that. All right, let's look for some more. And you balance that, and you'll become less cynical. You will. If it's all bad news and around negative people, it's going to affect you. So balance that perspective. You know, I've heard too much of this. Let me find something good. Let me go outside. Let me watch videos of babies laughing or goats jumping around. That lightens my mood. Yeah, it does. But you have to look for it. Also, physically, good news triggers dopamine, which if you don't know what dopamine is, it's that chemical inside your body that makes you feel better. You know, it's when I smell Cinnabon after I get off a plane. Oh, that releases dopamine. Still does. I haven't had a Cinnabon in a long time. Chocolate, bacon. Oh dear God, the bacon. But it's hearing uplifting news. It does the same thing. You know, whatever gets you. You know, and it can be some of these commercials. You know, Sarah McLachlan, what's the opposite of dopamine? Bless her heart, I know she didn't write that song, but anytime to trigger this, but every time I hear her voice, I don't care if she's singing or talking, I see dogs in bad shape, man. That's the opposite of dopamine. Good news is, it's great. And physically, it boosts your energy, it boosts your morale, it makes you feel better. Why don't we look for this stuff? You know, if good news was like crack, and it is physically, that's not a very pharmacologically accurate statement. But let's move on. Good news strengthens social bonds. Yeah, you may have a juicy piece of gossip that's negative about somebody, and you tell somebody, and you'll get that. Ooh, yeah, I told them they didn't know that. Oh, let's talk. Let's get more into the bad. It's sharing good news. That's a connection. I got some good news for you. I may have some good news about you for you. I may have some good news about me, and you love me, so it's good news for you too, right? And you share that. You share that, and it helps shift a conversation from complaint to encouragement. And yeah, I know I've been complaining about this and blah, 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 but let me tell you, things have turned around, and share that. They'll share it back with you. Other people will hear it. It is contagious. And also, good news, it's not just emotion. I love the emotion around good news, but it actually fuels action. Positive stories just don't make you feel better. They make you want to do better. How many times have you got a job offer, an acceptance? Oh, that's great. Okay, all the bad habits you've got at that last job, nope, I'm starting fresh. Yeah, okay, all right, well, you're on a weight loss journey. Okay, you go in and you weigh and you feel like you've been cheating, you've been doing this and that and the other, and I probably gained weight. No, you've lost 10 more pounds. Oh, great news. You know what? I'm not cheating anymore. I'm really on a roll. It fuels positive action. And I could give 20 more examples. But those are reasons. Those are reasons to look for the good news. So when you look at uplifting and encouraging news, it just comes in warmer tones. You know, if you can see the challenges, you choose to focus on possibilities too. Yeah, that's going to be rough, but here's what will happen. Yeah, that medicine's going to taste awful, but I'm going to feel better. Positivity, positivity, it doesn't ignore the problems, but it looks at the whole story rather than just looking on that. Yeah, it's going to, I'm working out now. I'm going to be it's the soreness. It's going to be rough. Look at the end result. Yeah. I believe being hopeful is one of the most practical things we can do. It is. It inspires action. Action creates change. And the change, once you see the change, that's real. And you know what that is? That's more good news. You can look at that. My wife has been on a health kick for the last year and 2 or 3 months now. The change is unbelievable, but you get used to that change over time. So you look back at what it was, not in negativity, but to see this, and that will make you want to do more. Your realism and optimism can go hand in hand. So, I decide I'm going to stand on the truth and reach for better. I've verified it. This is true. This is a reason to be optimistic. I'm ready to go forward. You don't have to choose between being informed and inspired. It's not one or the other. I choose to be both. I'm gonna educate myself and take that, and it's gonna be inspiration for me. Some people call a lot of this fluff and unrealistic and Pollyanna. I call it a choice to look forward. To think about, okay, what can we do? Not what are we going to accept? Every great leap of faith started with that first step or that first dare that don't double dog dare me. I've done some crazy things with double dog daring. Is that a Southern thing? I don't know, but you didn't double dog dare somebody in the South. Yeah, but it all started with something. I don't ignore the negative? No, but I choose to find the positive. So these are some things that you can do when you're challenged with people that are, why are you doing this? Yeah, but. The yeah buts. They're usually negative. Yeah. So what are some realistic steps toward, you may be a positive person, but we can be more positive. But if you're bent toward the negative a little bit, what's some things you can do to at least open your mind a little bit? And I think part of this is notice and catch your automatic reactions. They're out there. You just notice when your first thought is critical or doubtful or dismissive. If my kids are a little older now, but if your kid has an opinion on something, you're just young. You'll learn someday. I remember my parents used to seem so skeptical and cynical, and it's, my opinions weren't really considered. Notice when you do that. Yeah, you're just a kid. Or somebody says something about a topic I'm very well versed on. Don't just dismiss them because they're not as well versed. Take a minute. Notice when you're critical. They want to go somewhere to eat. Oh, no. A lot of times people will never eat at a restaurant because, I had one bad meal there. Or that doctor, he doesn't know what he's doing. My third cousin on my father's side had a friend who was married to someone. They were divorced now, but they were married to someone one time who had a kid who went to that doctor. And here's what I heard happen. Please, dig in a little bit. Just catch your reaction. And notice, okay, was that helpful or was it habitual? Do I just react to that? That person who you want to go to a sushi restaurant and they just snarl their nose. They've never even had sushi. Oh, by the way, they have all this other stuff too. Okay, watch your auto reactions. Also, kick up that curiosity. Am I being curious or judgmental? I'd rather be curious, because when something good happens to someone else or someone's saying something hopeful, you resist that eye roll. That's an auto reaction, by the way. But, tell me more. Huh. Yeah, maybe that opens the door for something. You can still be cynical and question it, but be curious at the same time. That's going to help you maybe overcome judgment with curiosity. Then another thing is, Have that one good thing mentality. Each day, find one thing. Not one thing that went right. One thing that didn't go wrong. Hopefully you can find one thing that went right. But here's one thing that did not suck. If that's where you are, start there. That's the first step. That meal did not suck. Oh, that's a good meal. Why did I like that? Well, it was this part of it, and you build on that. I like that kind of cheese. I want to have that cheese on some other stuff. Or that roll. Oh, the bread. I love ciabatta bread, by the way. You could put dog dirt on ciabatta bread, and it would be better. But once you start with one good thing, that's fantastic, and it will grow. It will grow. But start with one good thing. And how many times have I said it? Hang out with positive people. Even if they annoy you a little bit. You probably annoy them too, but their energy will grow on you, especially if you're becoming more positive. Exposure matters. Being around that a bit, you can limit it, but positivity is contagious. It's caught. It's hard to teach positivity, but you can catch it. It's caught, not taught. Buzzword, bumper sticker. So, just let their light shine on you a little bit. And then you can go away. The things about it. Because it's contagious. And then do something. Do something nice. Do something positive. And don't tell anybody. How about that? Nothing shifts your mindset more than being the good news in someone else's day. And it could be a small thing. When somebody's desperate, to find something good. There's no good in the world. You can be that. You can prove them wrong. It's humbling. It's empowering. It's addictive. You want to do something else. Like the lady with the shopping cart, please. That's no big deal. But I'm still talking about it. Made me feel good. Yeah. I went around the whole store like this after that. But hey, she didn't have to. But it proves that positivity isn't a personality trait. It's not just a personality trait. It's a choice. And I love that. I love that. You got negative people out there. The best reaction to a negative person is calm. Yeah, they're going to be negative. Just, okay. I'm not going to try to make you positive. I'm going to be that light that hopefully you'll catch it. Yeah. But sometimes they're just overly negative. Sometimes you just got to say, hey, look, I respect that you see things differently, but I choose to focus on good news. Not just bad news. You're ever ready to shift gears, I'm here. But I'm going to keep being this way. That way you know it. And if they're around you, they need a little bit of light. Be that light. It's much better. The worst thing you can do, my granddad said this, worst thing you can do is make somebody's load heavier. Acknowledge their perspective. Don't feed into it. Affirm your own mindset. Look, I choose not to be that way. I think there's good in everything. Everything happens for a reason. And also leaves that door open. So I think that's very important. There is good news out there. Find it. Look for it. Create it. And you're going to see that it's contagious. You're going to live longer. You're going to sleep better. You're going to be happier. It's so true. But you got to look for it. Don't wait on it to be delivered. I hope I've made some connections. I've tried not to be too Pollyanna because I am. I can look around this room and tell you so many good things. I like to collect little mementos that reminds me of a story, and that story reminds me of a person or a happening or good news. Over time, even bad news, you can laugh at it, which is good news. So dig for it. It's there. If you can't find it, I defy you to give me something I can't turn into good news, and we could agree on it. Give me a conversation. Give me a cup of coffee and a Danish. By the end, we'll be laughing and having a good time, and you'll admit there is good news out there. You just got to find it. There's coffee in Danish. That's good news. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining. Hit me up at david@otalks.com or dave@otalks.com. You can hit me. A lot of good stuff coming on. Things are catching fire. I'm going to start traveling again. I've got some new new products coming out. And by products, I don't mean that I'm selling them. I mean that I'm sharing them. And I'm very excited about it. So more to come on that. I appreciate you so much. I really do. We're big in the Netherlands now. Netherlands has jumped to number 2 behind the United States for Talking with Dave. How about that? I'm gonna find these people. I think they like black metal. So but we're growing thanks to you because of all that. Thanks for all the love. I appreciate it so much. Even you, Randy and Gary and Eastern Kentucky. I'm going to come see you. But thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it so much. But most of all, thanks for Talking with Dave.